Conan the Barbarian, a classic story that has been around for decades. Titan Comics now has it under their belt, and they're using the writer Jim Zub to tell some amazing Conan stories. So today we're going to be bringing you Conan Volume 1 of the Titans comic run. This is Comicstorian. I take comic books, turn them into audio drama so that you know what's out there and what you should be adding to your collection. Let's get into it. In the northern lands, they're wild, they're untamed, with few villages dotting the landscape. But there are outposts, critical waypoints for weary travelers, where they can trade, eat, and rest, with some safety and comfort. Haller's Rome is one such outpost, though today it isn't the safest place for one without honor. The door to Haller's Rome thunders open as patrons rush to escape the fight. Inside, a powerful Cimmerian warrior punches his mercenary captain again, blood flying from the man's mouth. "Where's your bravado now, deceitful dog? Did you leave it with the corpse of our allies at the bottom of the gulch?" Conan shouts angrily. The captain gets to his feet, snarling at Conan for his insolence, punching the warrior hard. But Conan shrugs off the blow, hitting him in the stomach hard enough to bring him down. "Consider this my resignation," Conan growls at him. With the fight ended, Conan returns to the mercenary company's table, taking his share of the gold from their last venture. "Looks like we got a new leader," one of them says with a smile, but Conan shakes his head. "No chance. I'm done following orders, and I have even less desire to give them," he says as he turns to the owners of the tavern, paying them for the damages from his brawl and for a bit of the traveler's stew that they are cooking. Conan sits at another table, his mood already darkening from his brawl as he eats his stew. He begins to think of his past. On his many adventures, he left his homelands of Cimmeria long ago. Suddenly, the door to the tavern bangs open, revealing scared villagers. Dark omens and deviltry," one of them shouts. He motions back outside, telling the patrons that the sky has turned dark in the middle of the day. "See for yourself!" Conan picks up his sword and his shield, joining the others outside, and sure enough, the world has turned to night, though the sun wouldn't have sunk for several more hours. Eerier still, the forest has grown oppressively quiet, no animals or birds stirring within its dark reaches. Sensing the unnatural state of the world, Conan readies his blade, but there's a clatter of hooves and a warrior on horseback that breaks out of the tree line. Conan recognizes her garb as one of the Picts, tribesmen who dwell on the other side of the Black River, unheard of to travel this far east. The woman puts down her leathers and begins to motion to the gathering of men. "Gather your people! An army unlike any you have faced before marches this way. They will not stop till everyone on their path is dead," the woman shouts, but the men don't believe her, choosing not to listen to a Pict woman who barks orders at them. "This is no time to argue! I'm trying to save your lives!" she bellows at them. But it is too late. The people of Haller's Rome turn as more warriors begin to rush from the woodline. Conan's eyes widen in wonder as he realizes that these warriors are no longer human. Their eyes glow, their mouths opening to reveal bloodied fangs. "What are they?" one of the villagers gasps, and the female Pict steps from her horse, readying her spear. "They were once proud Picts, tribesmen, soldiers. Now they're cursed," she whispers. The villagers have no time to run, having ignored the woman's warnings. The battle is met fiercely, and none fight harder than young Conan. He swings his blade, cleaving limbs and heads from bodies, but no matter how many of the cursed Picts fall, it seems two more take their place. "I told you they were relentless," the woman shouts as she impales her spear into the cursed beings. One grabs Conan from behind, and he rips the monster free, throwing him to the ground, pummeling its head to a pulp with his shield. Another moves behind him, but the woman swings her spear, slashing its head from its body, and the cursed warriors begin to pile atop her. She swings her blade, but is crushed under their weight. Conan rushes forward, swinging his sword, curving through them as he pulls the woman free, and for a moment, they have a respite. But Conan and the Pict look up to see more monsters coming out of the woods. The army of cursed men fall over Haller's Rome. Our only hope to get out of this alive is to stay together and watch each other's backs, Conan shouts. The woman nods as she takes cover within Haller's reach, but the Pict warns Conan that the horde of the cursed won't be stopped, no matter how many they kill. All we can do is flee and warn the others, she tells him, but Conan shakes his head, reaching for a lantern. He whirls, tossing the oil lantern at the tavern as they flee from a small outpost. We'll see about that, he shouts, the tavern bursting into flames, though the curses don't seem bothered. Conan and the woman quickly flee, allowing the flames and the smoke to cover their retreat. When they get a safe distance away, the two warriors rest. You showed great courage in the battle, futile as it was. You have my gratitude, warrior, the Pict says as she nurses her wound, introducing herself as a Brissa of the Gurin tribe. Conan of Cameria, he grunts at her, watching the burning outpost in the distance. He turns back to her, helping her bind her wound as he questions how a horde of cursed Picts could be moving across the countryside. I've been following the army of the lost for weeks. Picts who have fallen under the curse of some unearthly darkness I do not understand, Brissa says, explaining that the lost overtook her village, destroying it just as they destroyed Haller's Rome. So she's been traveling to warn the others ahead of the horde. Commendable, but it won't be enough, girl. Conan grunts, suggesting that they head north to Cameria, gather the tribes to hold back the hordes. My mountain kin are well versed in turning invading armies from their borders, whoever or whatever they may be. But Brissa shakes her head. I'm sorry, Conan, but it's too late for that. The army of the lost is larger than this one raiding party. They're already in Cameria. The next morning, Conan and Brissa sneak back to the smoking ruins of Haller's Rome. The lost has destroyed the village, pulling people from their homes and massacring them in the streets. They watch as the lost gather the bodies into a large pile in the center of the outpost, tying them together into a massive net. They don't want weapons or treasure, only corpses, Brissa whispers to Conan as he watches in disgust as the lost begin to drag the net of bodies away. As the lost begin their single-minded march, Conan and Brissa begin to follow them at a safe distance, the horde continuing forth, stopping occasionally to stare up into the sky, gaining orders from an unseen force until they begin their march again. Conan and Brissa continue to follow them, watching and waiting. The next time that they stop, we should move in and attack. She readies her spear, but Conan shakes his head. No, we need to know where they're headed, if we're going to stop the invasion at the source. Make no mistake, girl, I'll see them slain, but not here, not now. As the hunt continues, Conan and Brissa follow the horde as the landscape begins to become more barren beneath them, and Conan is aware that they have crossed into the lands of his birth, the hills of Cameria. Each night, the horde stops staring into the moon, becoming deathly silent, allowing Conan and Brissa to get the rest that they need, unafraid that the horde will continue without them. During their time together, Brissa and Conan grow close, discussing their lives before these horrific events. Brissa is shocked that anything can thrive in Cameria. A harsh land readies us for a harsh life. Conan shrugs, and Brissa pulls her furs tighter around her body, questioning how Conan can be so comfortable in the cold. I burn with the need to see vengeance served, this army undone, knowing that she shares the same fire inside of her. After they've gotten comfortable and changed the dressing on Brissa's wounds, she smiles at Conan. I fear what the future may bring, but for the first time in many weeks I feel safe with you. She tells Conan softly, motioning him forward, and the two take comfort in each other's arms that night, allowing their fire to keep each other warm and keep the cold of the night at bay. The sun rises the next day, and the two continue their hunt deeper into the lands of Cameria. As they grow closer to the villages of Conan's youth, the same dark clouds that overtook Haller's Rome swirl in the sky, and the snow begins to fall over the lands. In the distance, Conan could see that the village is dead. I'm sorry, Conan. I'm sure they fought valiantly, Brissa says softly, pulling her furs tighter around her body to hide from the cold, Conan nodding gruffly. To the last man, woman, and child, I will avenge them, along with the others. He looks back at her, suggesting that they head south to the capital, and they warn them of the coming horde, so that they may barricade their cities, but Brissa shakes her head. I know that they won't trust a Pict like me, no matter what I say. Conan thinks about this for a moment before nodding. You're right. Fools in ivory towers never listen, even when death itself is knocking at their door. Finally, he agrees that they should stay together and assess the horde further before heading north to stir as many Cimmerian clans as they can, to raise their weapons and unleash vengeance upon these foul invaders. As the pair push further north, they slip into the dead Cimmerian village, passing bodies left behind by the horde. They creep closer to the waiting horde, but out of the dark, swirling clouds comes a baleful light. The lost turn their aces towards it, and a strange presence sweeps over them. They shriek, raising their weapons high. Conan and Brissa look on in horror and fall to their knees as some response to the loss. A piercing ringing rips through their minds, and the pair try to cover their ears against the sound. And in that moment, Conan sees everything. He sees humanity shed its skin like reptiles, becoming something other than human. He sees the possible future where mankind is thrown from the cliffs, sacrificed into something dark below, something beyond death, beyond time. Suddenly, the nightmare disappears as the dead hand reaches out, clutching at Conan's leg, shocking him back to the mortal world. "Crom!" he snaps as he looks down, seeing his kinsman begin to raise. Brissa has returned as well, her eyes widening in surprise as the slain Cimmerians begin to rise up around them. "We're surrounded!" she shouts, and Conan grips his sword with two hands, nodding. "Indeed, the time for stealth has passed. Now it is time for battle!" he snaps as he leaps into the fight, swinging his blade and slashing through the undead horde. But there are too many. He begins to fall under the weight of them. "Hold on, Conan!" Brissa shouts as she tries to fight her way to him, but Conan will not fall so easily. "Bloody devils! You may take the bodies of these fine men and puppet them to your will, but you'll not have them for long!" Conan shouts, tossing the horde of undead away from him, swinging his blade, slashing heads and limbs from the bodies. In moments, the horde has fallen before them. "May you all be taken to the mountain halls, my brothers," he says as he lifts the Cimmerian axe in his free hand, the pair continuing forward, pushing through the fog until they are stopped, shocked to find a black spire rising out of the earth, shimmering with unholy power here in the lands of Conan's birth. The two warriors creep into the darkness of the spire, moving through its strange and shifting corridors, some forming naturally, others seemingly cut into the stone by mortal hands. They stop briefly as they see two cloaked figures moving through the halls. The pair stop at a door, and it slides open with a strange hook-like key. Before Conan can rush forward to stop the door from closing, his ears pick up the sound of familiar voices. Brissa and Conan slip forward and are surprised to find survivors trapped in a cage. "Mitra, strike me dead, you're Cimmerians," Conan hisses as he recognizes the warriors from his youth, a blonde, bearded man pushing the bars of his cage. "Conan, son of Corin, my brother in arms," Heidal whispers in shock. "Of all the men I'd dare hope might find us here, never would I have thought it'd be you. When we found the village in shambles, I assumed you'd all been slain," Conan says, but Heidal explains that the horde corralled some of them into the spire and put them in these cages. "These demons starve us and take the ones closest to death for some dark purpose," he explains, but the reunion is interrupted as Brissa hears approaching footsteps. Rounding the corner, two of the hooded figures appear with the lost ones chained to them. They release the monsters like dogs who rush at the warriors, but Conan makes quick work of them, rushing at the hooded figures, slashing and slamming them against the walls. As he pulls his blade free, he's shocked by the face underneath the hood, a lizard man staring back at him. The fight is ended in moments, but Brissa relieves one of the lizards of his jail keys, freeing the warriors. "Look at you, strong as an oak," Heidal says with joy as he claps Conan on the shoulder. Conan smiles back at him. "As you all shall be once there's food back in your bellies." But Heidal shakes his beard. "Not till I topple this foul place." A plan is created, with Brissa leading the weaker and wounded Cimmerians back to the surface, while Conan leads the warriors deeper in with hopes of destroying the evil place. Brissa tries to argue, but Conan shakes his head. "You're still injured. Your place is with the others," though he knows that she is a strong and capable warrior. She argues for a moment, but finally relents, pulling Conan into a strong embrace, kissing him, asking for him to return to her. As the Cimmerian warriors push deeper into the Black Spire, stealthily eliminating more of the hooded figures, they take their robes as disguises. And finally, they reach the deepest recesses of the spire, finding the hooded figure standing over a deep pool of green water. A cult priest stands over the gathering, chanting ancient words that no mortal man has ever been meant to hear. But one name stands out amongst the chants: Thulsa Doom. The cultists pull a Chimerian warrior forward, and Conan and the others watch as he is cast into that pool. But back on the surface, Brissa has led the wounded to safety. As they crouch in the shadows of the forest, she looks back at the black spire in the distance. Lass, I know you're thinking of the others. They'll die as warriors. Warriors, true. An old Chimerian tells her as he looks to the others, and when he turns back, Brissa is gone. Deep beneath the earth, Conan and the others watch as the captured Chimerian sinks beneath the pool of green liquid, screaming in pain for a moment before disappearing, his soul captured by the foul magic below. Another is cast into the pool, and Conan prepares to make his move, drawing his sword. But a cultist has seen them and shouts to the others. Conan whirls quickly, slicing the hand off the cultist as the lizard reaches for him. Stealth is forgotten as the Chimerian warriors discard their cloaks, preparing themselves for battle. Above the gathering, the cult priest shouts at his followers, pointing at Conan and the others. Is there a plan? Heidel asks as he readies his axe, and Conan nods. The same, I suspect, barked by that bone-faced bastard. Slay them all! Conan shouts as he leaps into the fight. The Chimerians are deadly warriors, and they leap to the task before them. But the cultists are many, and they begin to overwhelm our 4 warriors. Conan refuses to fall, leaping over to the pool of evil and rushing at the priest, grabbing him and burying his sword into the creature's neck. The priest holds fast to Conan as he falls, pulling the Chimerian into the pool with him. As the waters calm him, Conan looks up to see spirits swirling around him, grabbing his limbs, pulling him deeper. Something dark reaches out of the depths of the pool, wrapping inky black tentacles around Conan, pulling him down. It reaches for the body of the priest as well, pulling them to the bottom of the black pool. Suddenly, Conan is no longer in the pool, light shining around him as he is standing, and he looks up in surprise to see a pickish warrior standing before him. This darkness will steal your soul unless you fight. Fight as you once did and shall once more, fate willing. I am Brawl, chieftain of the Bony tribe. Where are we? Conan asks, looking around in surprise. A place that is now and yet never made. A flickering veil of substance and illusion, Brawl says with a shrug, motioning to the blade in Conan's hands. A picked blade that Conan has carried since his youth. The blade you carry was once set atop my spear, blessed for battle against foes living and dead. He tells Conan of the past, of how he and his warriors rode to investigate the dark clouds that swirled in the skies and found a picked village at its center. The chief greeted them, offering them a feast, paying no mind to the ominous clouds in the skies. But Brawl found that there was no food at the feast, and when he questioned the chieftain, the man led him through the fields that had long since died off. The chief led him to the Black Stone, which stood outside of the village, the black stone having the shape of a man leaning forward. The carving, unfinished yet fully formed, Brawl explains, and he and his warrior looked at it, a single eye opening on that stone. His warriors were transfixed by the eye and unable to move. While at my back, the chief and his consul were thrashing and wailing. The chief and his men begin to tear at their skin, shedding their humanity like a lizard sheds its skin. The lizard folk began to slaughter Brawl's men, but the warrior chief would not be killed so easily. A war cry escaping his mouth, breaking the stone's trance. Brawl and his remaining warriors turned to the lizard folk, cutting them down in moments until none stood. It was after this battle that Brawl whirled on the black stone. I will see you undone, you demon! I swear it's so! Brawl shouted as he threw his spear, stabbing it into the stone and lightning suddenly crashing from the sky, striking the stone, shattering it, dispelling the darkness around them. As Brawl steps forward, claiming his spear, he knows deep within his heart that the evil has not been undone, that this wicked evil was more than a single statue in a village. And as his story ended, Brawl stepped over to Conan. Warrior, avenge us with a bright blood and great fury, and you shall be rewarded, now and forevermore. I swear I will, Conan grunts. Brawl smiles at the young warrior. Good. Kull will be pleased to hear his blood still stirs strong in the line of kings. Pain sweeps over Conan's body as he opens his eyes, finding himself at the bottom of the pool, wrapped in the dark tentacles. But the sword's still in his hand, and he thrashes and he slices, cutting through the tentacles. Nearby, he can see the glowing eye of the broken statue, and he swims forward, driving his sword into the stone. Somewhere above, lightning strikes, and the broken pieces that remain of the statue shatter. The force of the explosion throws him free of the waters, and he lands in the cavern above. "How did you survive?" Heidel says as he rushes to the side of young Conan, pulling the Cimmerian to his feet. "I know you want to lay down and die, lad, but if you've got any spirit left, now's the time," Heidel says as he motions to the gathering hoarding around them. "Let's break the front line as we did in Venerum, my friend, and write our song in steel," Conan says as the two warriors rush into the fight. The caverns of the Black Spire are filled with the sound of crashing steel, breaking bone, and rushing blood as the warriors fight their way back to the surface. And as they near the exits, the spire begins to quake around them. Whatever black magic from the statue was holding it together has long since passed. Just as Conan and Heidel leap from the entranceway, the spire shatters behind them, burying what remains of the horde and the cult far below. Conan and Heidel are quickly surrounded by the surviving Cimmerians. "Brom's blood! You did it, boys! You purged it all!" the Cimmerians shout, and Conan looks to those gathered, looking for Briss's face. "Apologies, Conan. Once she let us out, she ran back to find you." Conan turns his dark eyes to the spire, cursing the evil below. Many months later, springtime has fallen over Cimmeria. The grass has begun to grow again. A caravan of Asgard nomads are traveling towards Cimmeria to return to their homes in the southern soil. But when they stop, they're surprised to find the remnants of a battle long since fought. One warrior wanders away, finding something glowing in the dirt, a single lump of stone, blacker than anything he's seen before. As he reaches forward, a darkness overtakes him, and he smiles as the dark voices whisper in his mind. And there you have it. Now, if you want more Conan, you need to let me know. Let me know in the comments down below, because this is kind of an obscure comic for us to be covering here on the channel. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.